Welcome to this AppSmith live streaming event. We are about to get started and our host and guests are getting ready behind the scenes, testing the audio, making sure they look good on camera, but more importantly, getting prepared for your questions. But while you wait, feel yourself at home. Get some coffee or water and make sure to be comfortable to start learning and growing. In case you don't know what AppSmith is, hey, that's totally fine. We distinguish ourselves as the most powerful open source low-code platform, enabling developers to transform ideas into reality with unmatched speed, security, and efficiency. From small startups to large enterprises, AppSmith allows you to build enterprise applications that solves real business problems. You can build internal tools and dashboards connecting to more than 30 data sources, such as databases, SaaS platforms, or APIs. Then, build fast UIs using the drag and drop widgets from our large collection. And finally, define your business logic using JavaScript. If you are an experienced developer, you can build custom widgets with your preferred frameworks like React, Vue, or Angular. We literally support any JavaScript library and framework out there. But if you don't know how to code, that's fine. You can still connect your existing platforms like Salesforce, Google Sheets, or HubSpot and build incredible dashboards, reports, and apps without writing code. Alright, I got confirmation that our hosts and guests are prepared to get started. So say hi on the chat, start the conversation already, and let's kick things off. Hello everyone, and welcome to our exciting live streaming event. I am Kevin Blanco, Senior DevRel Advocate here at AppSmith, and I'm thrilled to have you all joining us today for what promises to be an insightful discussion on the shift to self-hosted software solution. Hey, the on-air sign is live, which means we are completely live right now. So please say hi on the chat and let us know where are you joining from. I always enjoy seeing all the different countries people join in. We got people from Africa, Nigeria, we have people from Asia, Latin America, North America. We have people from everywhere. It's so great to see the internationality of our audience. Before we dive in, let me quickly introduce AppSmith for those who might be new to our community. So AppSmith is the leading open source low-code platform for building and self-hosting enterprise applications. We are on a mission to empower developers and businesses to create powerful custom software solutions with unprecedented speed and flexibility. And today, we're exploring a topic that's reshaping the enterprise software landscape. We'll discussing why businesses are increasingly moving towards self-hosting their critical applications, the challenges they face, how emerging technologies like AI and low-code are influencing this trend, and why cloud solutions are making things so much easier for people and enterprises to do this. But before we dive in our main topic, I have an exciting announcement because we're kicking off today the stream with a special trivia question, and you'll have the chance to win some exclusive AppSmith swag. So here's the question for you. Let me put it on the screen right now. In which year was the term cloud computing first used in its modern context? All right, that's the question. And we'll be selecting one winner from YouTube, one winner from Twitter, and one from LinkedIn. And all you have to do is just put your answer on the chat, and we'll be grabbing some winners from the successful questions that people put on the chat. So this is your opportunity to showcase your tech knowledge and potentially win some cool swag AppSmith merchandise. All right, there you go. So that's the benefit of joining at the beginning because you'll be able to participate on this type of trivias. All right, so I'm honored. I'm extremely honored to be joining this conversation by two distinguished guests who bring a wealth of experience and insights to our conversation. So first of all, let me bring Mark Johnson. And what can I say about Mark? AI and cloud solution architect, a cloud engineer, cloud evangelist, a LinkedIn top voice, a Google Cloud authorized trainer, a fellow developer expert with, hear me out, 15 Google Cloud certifications and 2 certifications on AWS. That's pretty impressive, Mark. How are you doing today?
Great, Kevin. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here today to talk about this conversation about, SaaS products and, how we can use some more self-hosting in our lives. So I'm excited about it.
Thank you, Mark, for taking your time and joining us. And it's pretty impressive everything that you have achieved. We'll be talking about that as well, maybe later on.
Much
Uh,
appreciated. Thank you.
Unfortunately, you cannot participate on the trivia,
Uh, don't leave
but
me out.
yeah. But do you have any guess of the year? Maybe we started to see like the cloud computing terms being actually used in the modern context.
You asked me for my guess. If I were
Yeah,
guessing, I would say I'm gonna take it back to probably like 2001. That's what I'm gonna say.
you're close. You're close.
Okay.
I see people on the chat already putting their answers. I see some of them might be correct. So take your guess, everyone, on the chat. And so on the other side, we also have Gotham. So Gotham is our head of dev operations, and his expertise in managing and scaling self-hosted applications will definitely offer a practical perspective on the challenges and opportunities in this space. Gotham, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Good to hear. Good to be here. Uh, yeah, excited to talk, excited to see how it goes. But yeah,
Awesome. So let's kick things off. And just to give some context to people, we have an ebook, and I'm going to be putting the link in the description. And this ebook will basically have some information about uh, the interview we run across 100 developers in various industries. And our goal was to uncover the motivations driving this shift and the benefits and challenges of self-hosting in open source. So you can download this ebook, but also we'll be sharing some of the different questions and topics that we got from that particular interview. And so the first thing we wanted to talk is very simple. What is the role of modern cloud infrastructure in facilitating self hosting? And that's the first thing we wanted to talk because, from my perspective, it's not the same self hosting cloud computing from 10 years ago until now. It's very different. It's much easier. It's cheaper. It's faster. And we have even AI, for example, in Google Cloud, you have Gemini. You can ask your questions about, hey, how can I run, I don't know, Postgres on the cloud? It's going to give you the steps on how to deploy it, how to scale it, and how to easily secure it. So that's my first question for you, Mark. Like, how do you see the landscape on the advancements in cloud technology
Mhm.
shaping us the future, and how also even open source is helping us to have more control over the data, deploy our applications, and run that on the cloud? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so my thoughts to your point, things nowadays are a lot faster to get up and running and less complicated when you're talking about, self-hosting your application on modern cloud platforms. So for example, let's say years ago, you may have been in a data center or maybe worked at a large organization that owned that data center or were releasing it. And it was a lot of cost and it was just a lot more effort to, get your application up and running because you had to jump through a lot more hoops. But nowadays, like you mentioned, whether it be Google Cloud or any other public cloud provider, you can use certain apps that are, say, serverless and push your app right up in there. You may have a container image or something like that, get it up and
Right.
running, and you're off and going. So it's a lot faster and quicker these days for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And that also talks about how easy it is to control your budget because
Mhm.
we all have been there.
Yes.
We create an instance in AWS. We just try something from
Right.
their marketplace. We leave it running, and then we had a bill of $1,000.
Indeed.
We've all been there. So I think that also it's been easier not only to control the actual application, but also even control budget and how you spend that budget in running your application.
Absolutely.
So, Gotham, from the dev operation side, what would you say it's a some of the benefits or modern cloud deployments and operating some of the different solutions that you can run on your own infrastructure, which is a great benefit for enterprises. And I think there you go. You're not muted.
yeah, yeah. So the way I look at it, the entire cloud computing boom or the ease of deploying stuff on cloud kind of kicked it off after, I mean, in the last 10 years or so. That's where we have people trying to deploy stuff, like even containerize it, the main purpose of it is just like uh, ease of deployment, ease of living, as I can say. Like you can just get your stuff deployed, you can just try it out, and then you can, if it doesn't work, okay, chuck it. You can get a new thing and then deploy it on the whole again. So that was the first part, and then the other main cost of, or the other main thing which kind of created the boom, I can say, is because of managing the whole infrastructure on your own. So you have these data center farms, you have these data center farms deployed across multiple areas, and then you have to physically go in and then do that kind of stuff. That's kind of troubling, as I say, and that is one. And then now you have, say, some vendor comes in and asks for applications, so asks for deploying certain applications in your data center. So you have to give him a certain access, like you have to give him some specific laptops where you don't have other third party things not involved, not deployed, and all that stuff, like the security constraints and all the stuff. They all come in as an added cost, which something which we don't see it right away. And that's where I felt that's what I've seen in my past experience, that having these blocks kind of created a huge boom for the cloud computing part, where you can just write some Terraform modules or something of the sort, give it up to some person, or create a AWS account or something of the sort, restrict access. Okay, now you're in the VPC with this restricted access, get your stuff done, show me your application. As a vendor, as a vendor, show me your application, I'll check it. Like, you can deploy it, I can use it, and I can get my stuff done. So that's where I think the entire cloud computing boom came up in the last 10 years. And yeah, of course, there are other few steps, like, so once we got our lives easy, then we saw, okay, now what more better can we do? Okay, now let's contain that stuff. So then came in that, okay, for the budgeting part, okay, as you said, okay, $1,000 for an EC2 instance, okay, fine. Now how quick and efficiently I can manage this thing? That's where
Right.
came Docker, containerization, and then yeah, the entire saga. And then later after that, then came the Kubernetes part layer. Like, okay, now how quickly I can orchestrate, how quickly I can maintain all this stuff. So yeah, in a way, it made lives easy, and that's how the entire thing started. That's how I've been there, like, the past 10 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. And what you mentioned about infrastructure as code, I think that was a big change. So I worked in as a dev operations as well, and infrastructure guy. And I remember when I did the first time, when I remember the first time I was able to actually put infrastructure that was physically being deployed somewhere in code. And the fact that you can put that into source code, that you can control it, that you can have versioning on it, I think it was amazing. So, Mark, what are your experiences like, for example, with infrastructure as code and some of the different advantages of cloud computing, like you said, versus 10 years ago when you have to be physically on the data center deploying, until now that you can deploy even from your phone?
Yeah, I think one of the things is, of course, speed. As we've all been talking about that, which is a common theme with cloud in general. Speed, and then the scale, globally, right? So let's say you're building an application, and say maybe most of your user base is in Europe, or maybe it's in Asia, somewhere like that. You have that capability now to be able to deploy globally very quickly using things like, popular ones like Terraform, for instance, cloud formation, all these kinds of tools out here that really help you, get your application out a lot faster than you ever could to multiple locations. And one of the key things Gotham just mentioned about, even like with the the versioning as well, I think that's very key, because as you're tracking these changes, you want to be able to use certain tools like maybe GitHub. You can put your code in there and you can track all of your infrastructure changes there. So it's really cool. And it's just cool to see how none of this existed, like I said, just 10 years ago. For sure, it was like completely different.
Yeah, that's definitely true. So let me bring some of the answers that we got from our survey to what are the key drivers that are pushing people to adopt self-hosting solutions, maybe versus SaaS, and some of the factors that influence some of these organizations that we can see here on the image is cost savings. That's definitely true. As we were talking, it's easier to control costs now with, for example, serverless, where you don't have to be running your application even though you don't have traffic. So right now you can easily just have your application deployed, and thankfully to modern cloud solutions, you can just have them up and running whenever you have visitors. But if they're idle, they're not going to be spending any time, any money. Then you have data control, which is a big portion of one of the things that I wanted us to discuss. Definitely enterprises mostly are looking for data control. That's something that we see every day here at AppSmith. Enterprises are looking for a way to have AppSmith running on their own VPC, so they can connect to their own data systems without having to go to the external of the outside world, which is a killer feature of AppSmith. and self-hosting your infrastructure. Security obviously is a big thing, customization and flexibility. So approximately 70% of the respondents, cited saving costs and obviously the data control. So when it comes to data control, and I think that's the other topic that I wanted to bring and ask you, Mark, about this, because I know you're in the forefront with working with customers,
Yeah.
deploying solutions. What will you say are some of the security advantages of self-hosting versus maybe using SaaS products?
Yeah, so number one, you're going to have more access to controlling, specifically like a lot of the identity and access management controls, right? So of course, if you use a SaaS product, it's ultimately what they make available to you, whether it be through the APIs or just the interface that you're using. But when you're self-hosting it, particularly if you're using the public cloud, you have the entire identity access management roles and permissions, and you can create custom permissions as well, very simply. And it really helps as far as like when you're building out your application, how that app is communicating with other applications, what data is being, transferred in between them. And of course, if you have encryption requirements as well, maybe you have to bring your own encryption keys. So you can get really deep into it, but ultimately you can use all these types of options. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Gotham, since you are again at the forefront of dev operations in our team,
Right.
first of all, I wanted to ask you again from a security standpoint some of the advantages, but also some of your recommendations, because I know you are deploying applications daily, you are working on dev operations daily. And obviously, one of the responsibilities of owning your infrastructure and your applications is that you own security. And if
Right.
something goes wrong, you don't have anyone to go and blame because it's your fault. Because you designed the
Right.
topology, you designed the network. Something goes wrong, it's your fault. That's one of the
Right.
disadvantages of
So on you.
self-hosting. Yeah, it's on you. So, Gotham, some of the recommendations you will say to people watching right now and are looking to maybe self-host AppSmith, which is fully open source, or any other type of product on their own infrastructure.
Oh, so yeah, as you said, I think you covered most of the points. So uh, when you talk about deploying apps and the major security concerns or major security measures we recommend people to take forward is always always don't use a IP or something of that sort. Use a load balancer so that you don't expose it right away, and preferably an ad gateway or something of that sort, so that you have certain you only have one particular IP all the time, NAT gateway, and attached an elastic IP to it. So that is one. And of course, the other security related headers, they call the content security policies and all that stuff, which goes in when you deploy AppSmith. So these are the particular measures which we tell. And if we go more detail into the infrastructure level, using the right security groups, don't use any don't expose any unnecessary ports. And if you're deploying it on Kubernetes or anything of that sort, okay, make sure you have the proper network policies so that no other person can just blindly access your applications and stuff. So yeah, that's something which we generally recommend. So, yeah.
That's the basics.
Yeah.
And what options do people have in terms of AppSmith specifically, Gotham, to deploy to which frameworks? Sorry, which infrastructure, the cloud providers, which mechanisms? How can people deploy AppSmith today?
So to deploy AppSmith, we generally recommend Kubernetes as a go-to solution. The primary reason being what Kubernetes brings to the table. It brings high scalability, high availability, and all the other. It ticks all the check boxes. So that is the one. And then next, if at all you want to try it out, like you want to try AppSmith, like just you just want to spin up an EC2 instance and then just try it, we recommend the AMI image, where you don't actually have to do anything. Just click a couple of buttons, you can have AppSmith up and running. That was the second. That's the first approach which you recommend if you want to play around. You want to see if there's a product fit where you want to try AppSmith, if it serves your purpose and all that stuff. And then if you find a proper fit, we recommend doing it on a Kubernetes, hosting it on Kubernetes. And there's another new solution which we are kind of pushing it in this quarter. It's managed hosting, where you can just ping us, you can just tell us, like you can just reach out to us saying, hey, I like your product, I want to deploy it. I mean, I want it to be hosted. I don't have the necessary DevOps team or necessary team to look after, if you can do it, yeah, we are also in the lines of doing it, supporting it. So these are the major suggestions we recommend. But yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and actually, I'm gonna be putting right now on the screen a QR code if you want to go to our YouTube channel because we have plenty of videos on how to self-host and deploy AppSmith on AWS, on Google Cloud Platform, which you can deploy, like Gotham mentioned, to Kubernetes using our Helm chart. Super easy to deploy, but also you can deploy to Cloud Run, which is serverless and is great because you don't have to worry too much about costs of having an instance running. To AWS, you can use EC2, Fargate, the AME image, which is just one-click deployment, DigitalOcean, Azure Container Instance. Everything is there. So go to our YouTube in case you haven't subscribed yet, and take a look at all of those videos because we have plenty of guides over there. And also, before we continue, I'd like to bring some of the comments that we have on the chat. The thing is, again, like I said, we have a global community. I see Kevin on X or Twitter coming from Louisiana, Nicolas from France on YouTube. Hey, Nicolas. Joseph from Florida, which is part of our team. I hope you stay safe because I know the hurricane is going to be hitting soon. We have Efrain from Venezuela joining on LinkedIn, and we have someone from Valencia, Spain. I can't pronounce that username in Remer, but thank you for joining, everyone. It's great to see. And if you haven't put any of your messages on the chat, please feel free. It's so great to see again the internationality of AppSmith. And for those who are joining, hey, I'm going to be a good person. I said this at the beginning, and I was thinking about not saying because for those who join early and have the ability to participate on a trivia we're doing, but hey, I'm going to be nice right here. We have a trivia, which is the year that the term cloud computing first used in this modern context. So we're going to have swag, and we're going to have one winner on Twitter, one on LinkedIn, and one on YouTube. So put the year that you think cloud computing started to be used actually in the modern context, and you might win some swag. So let's move on. So some of the answers that we got from the security standpoint of self-hosting, software solutions, some of the benefits that we got from the interview or from the survey we run, it's cost savings. Again, that's a big portion, and we understand enterprises are looking to have cost savings and cut expenses. Control is obviously one of the big things. Security is the winner. Again, we're seeing customers every day just taking care of their data and not wanting to go the outside world, connecting their own internal databases. Customization might be one of the lowest answers. Maybe enterprises are not looking for customization, but more of the control and the cost savings, and flexibility is important as well. But some of the drawbacks are maintenance. Obviously, you have to have people maintaining that, not as much as we used before, but we still need maintenance in some of those different platforms that we're running. If we need to patch, we need to update those versions. That's part of the things that is easier right now to roll out a new update, but still you have to do it. To take care of the scalability, make sure that the product is growing as you have more traffic, and the security concerns that we already talked. Like when you have the control is great, but you also are responsible from anything that could happen to those particular systems. So, Mark, the next questions or the next topic I wanted to bring is because I know you are in the forefront of AI. Everyone is talking AI, and
Oh
that's the
yeah.
big thing today. And we know, like, we saw that in the Google I/O. We were there together, and we
Oh
saw the
yeah.
push everywhere. AI was, there's a fun video where people grab the AI mentioned on the keynote. It's just AI, 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 AI. It's a fun video, but I mean, it's
Absolutely.
true. It's a true tool to help you in your day to day. So, what could you say is, first of all, AI doing for us right now, helping us right now, and what could be the future of cloud computing and self-hosting and running applications thanks to AI?
Yeah, so to answer your first question, like what is it doing now? One of the things I believe is really helping us do is, especially organizations that have a lot of data that can be used, is getting more insight and maybe enabling them to monetize it better, right? To monetize existing data they have, along with data that continues to come in, and that could be in a variety of ways. But right now we're seeing a lot with, of course, text generation, code generation for sure, image generation, video, but I do see like when you get to a point when you have video, text, audio, uh, all kinds of things, and you start putting these things together, these multimodal type deals, it's really cool and it's really like an endless possibility. In particularly when we're talking about applications, right? When you're talking about self-hosting and you're talking about building apps, and whether it being managed or through you all's service that you offer, or even if you're just self-hosting on your own public cloud provider, that data, right? As you're getting that data in there, you can start thinking now with using some of these other AI tools, maybe I can build some type of, model with this to help my customers get more insight. So it's really cool stuff. It's just endless possibilities. So it's just really exciting.
It is. It is really exciting. And not only when it comes to, like you said, generating code and building the application at the application layer, but also I've seen, and I know you have also talked about that in LinkedIn, because I've seen your videos and how AI is helping you at every level. Like,
Mhm.
even if you're working with like Google Sheets, or even if you're working with
Mhm.
deploying an app, you can just, if it is Google platforms, you have Gemini. If it's AWS, you have other options. If it is Azure, you have Copilot to ask, what would be the best way for me to run this database or to run this application. It's going to give you even the Docker file definition. It's going to tell you how to deploy that on a single command. So that's definitely is going to help the future, not only contribute to those who are already doing the operations and deploying applications, but also bring more people. So how do you see, Mark, the democratization of AI, bringing more people into having the confidence to maybe do something that they couldn't do before, because
Mhm.
maybe they didn't have the full knowledge on being a
Mhm.
dev operation engineer?
No, I think it's going to really help those and democratize it by speeding up learning, right? Because I think, as that last slide you showed, where some of the major drawbacks were, for instance, like, maintenance and security. So when you're using things like AI to be able to help you generate, the code faster, or learn, like, how do I do this in cloud? How do I generate an IAM template in Terraform to lock down, my virtual machine, hypothetically? So that's going to help folks learn a lot faster. Now, granted, you still have to, they're still going to have to understand what they're looking at and get a good foundational understanding of that cloud provider, the services and so forth. But ultimately, I believe it's coming at a great time, because as you've seen in the industry, it's just hard to find the right talent to address those drawbacks that you showed up on that screen. So
Hmm.
that's where that divide between, self-hosting, SaaS, managed services, it gets really tricky.
Yeah, it does get tricky. A few months ago, I was live here with our CTO, Arpit, and he discussed some of the things that we have been doing internally at AppSmith. And I remember he mentioned that we moved from using Cypress, which is an end-to-end testing tool, which is great, and using Cypress dashboards, which is a product from Cypress, and we move all of the control of our unit testing and end-to-end testing to an actual AppSmith dashboard. First of all, we save $80,000 a year in licensing from Cypress, which is amazing, obviously, saving money, but also because we had the control to now have all of the logs um, from the different tests that we were running internally. So, Gotham, I wanted to ask you, because I know that Arpit mentioned some of this, but I remember that he mentioned we are using AI to analyze all of the end-to-end tests that are running on Cypress to
Right.
give developers an insight of where a failing test could be actually failing and what the tentative solve is. That's a great use of AI over there. Can you mention a little bit about this app and how we are using AI and leveraging with AppSmith, how you could solve this type of problems? This is just one use case.
Right. So the way we have done it is that we, we so Cypress is pretty normal framework, like which a lot of users have been using it. So we kind of use the data with it's already present, which is already there. We tried checking, or we tried the common basic scenarios where it fails and all that stuff, and then we try to get, so as and when we got data around it, we try to build a model around it and try to get more insights on where it is failing and how it is failing, how we can reduce it, how we can what all places we have to tweak a little so that we can get the Cypress tests running, or we can get the entire thing uh, run in a more smooth way and then get apps been deployed. So yeah, that's the whole part of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. When Arpit showed that, I was pretty impressed about that because it's not only being able to control the test results, but also the fact that it can give you a recommendation right away. Like, we have these tests running. I check the code because AppSmith is open source, and here's a tentative solution of your failing tests. That's definitely cost saving, have full control of your data, and so on, which is going on the same path of the responses that we have had on the trend. And that's also one of the things that I wanted to bring up, which is the response from the survey that we run and we put on the ebook. And actually, let me put on the chat the link to download the ebook in case you missed it. It's on our website, but you can download that ebook and read more about what we're talking right now. But yes, 60% of the respondents are incorporating AI into their self hosted applications at multiple layers, from controlling the actual operations or helping shape the operations of running these tools, and also faster programming and development cycles, easier integration with existing systems, and generation of innovative ideas. And that's something I talk about it in some recent presentations that I did. I remember that I talked about this in some of the dev fests that I was presenting, which is there is this huge opportunity of everyone is using AI, everyone wants to use it, but not really everyone knows how to apply it. And I remember one funny quote that I put in my presentation that people laughed. Um, AI is like teenage sex. People think, everyone thinks they're doing it. Nobody knows who are doing it, but everybody claims they're doing it. And that's the reality. You see everyone, we're doing AI, but in the reality, I've seen a lot of enterprises who doesn't know what they're doing. So there's a big opportunity over there to maybe grow your AI capabilities and take part of this. So Mark, I know you're at the forefront of AI again. So what would you say are some opportunities for people who wants to continue to grow their AI skills, and what direction could they take?
Yeah, I would definitely just keep up to date with, especially all the major cloud providers like the knowledge, the blogs they have out there. Of course, LinkedIn. There's a lot of learning resources out there, and it's such an ever changing thing. I mean, this week there was a Gemini at work, webinar that I went to and attended some stuff. Still got to get caught up on it, but the bottom line is just continue just to keep your eye out on all the happenings. I mean, I know it's hard to do, but also keeping the eye on is one thing. I'd also really highly suggest, signing up, trying out a lot of different services. I've tried out services to help, create video shorts. I've tried out services to help with audio generation, things, and just playing with it, thinking of ideas. I'll give one more example where I was doing some budgeting and I needed to take some statements, and I took several different CSV files and said, give me a budget plan, give me a balance sheet, give me something like that. And just start thinking of ideas, that things you couldn't do before, and just start plugging it into these models and see what you get.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, we have a question from the audience. Like, are there tools or any way that, for example, monitoring my VMs and suggest me when to have spikes for load, proactively work on that? And I think that's one great example you just mentioned. Like, ingesting data to AI and getting a response back is probably the easiest way to use AI.
Mhm.
And yes, you can export your CPU metrics, your memory metrics, your VM metrics, and just talk to AI and say, "Hey, here's my I don't know, my last month metrics from all of my servers. What can I do to improve my usability, my costs, my budget, etc." So that's just one thing over there that just coming from your recommendation, Mark. Ingest data into models that exist. And for example, we were talking at Google I/O about all of the different models that you have on from Gemini that you can run on Google Cloud infrastructure, and that's the same thing for AWS and from Azure with their Azure AI Studio. Like, they have all of these data models available to you that you can internally connect because you're running your products in those private cloud infrastructures, and you can easily and securely connect them and start working with that data. But Gotham, what would you say are other things that you will recommend when you are self-hosting any type of product, and you can take benefits from AI from the dev operations perspective? And I think you might be mute. There you go.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what we use in AppSmith. So what we have done is So you can go to your cost explorer in AWS. You get the CSV sheet. It will tell you what all. It will show you what all places you have used your credits, or wherever you have spent most of your money on. We kind of use that. We kind of have a particular Maya model which is available outside. Like you can Google it, you can find a lot of things. So that kind of gave us recommendations saying, hey, this is where you're using it. Of course, when we talk about the cost explorer and stuff, we also try to get the CPU metrics, and we kind of have one small tool. We wrote it on a cloud formation template. So that gives us the metrics, the CPU metrics, whether it's underutilized or heavily utilized, and then we also get the common amount we are spending on a particular instance or a particular workload, and we try to run, or we try to get some recommendations with the AI models which are available in the market. It tries to give us uh, hey, this is where you're not using your workload, you're not using your infrastructure effectively. Maybe you can try this. This will help you reduce your cost by this much amount of dollars. So in that way, we kind of got down around uh, $300 to $400 per month. But yeah, there is a long way to go there. But yeah, that is where. And if there is anything which is underutilized, like say we have a couple of NAT gateways or something of that sort which are not used, and we are paying money, which went unnoticed or something of that sort. Those things will also help us in giving some insights on where we are wasting money and where we can effectively use our infrastructure and use our money specifically.
That makes sense. And it all comes down to money. And I thought we all like money and saving that. So, and that's something we can see definitely on the responses from the survey we run, because uh, open source is key. Open source is key to self-hosting into your infrastructure, because when you can avoid licensing costs and you have the ability to control what you are deploying, not only from a licensing cost perspective, but also from the fact that you can see what's running behind the scenes. You can see the code, you can even contribute back if there is an error and you know how to fix it. You can go to the project on GitHub and open a PR and contribute. Definitely open source has been the driving force for adoption of different cloud infrastructure. We can talk about how Git transformed the way we control code. It's completely open source. Anyone can have their own Git server privately running. And that's the same stuff for databases, for application layer, like, for example, AppSmith and multiple other solutions out there. And yes, 70% of the survey respondents say that they are increasing the adoption of open source solutions, influencing that to their business solutions, because again, they're looking for control, they're looking to cost saving, and they're looking for security. And you have platforms like AppSmith, which is GDPR compliant, which is SOC 2 compliant, which is HIPAA compliant, and that means you have the security that you need. Yet it's completely open source and you can self-host that. So from your perspective, Mark, when it comes to self-hosting solutions
Mhm.
and all of the movement that we see on different companies making their stuff open source, what would you say is open source nowadays and from all the history, and how that's shaping into the future as well?
Well, to your point, as you were just showing that graph, I think, well, definitely I believe that open source drives it all, especially, of course, on the public cloud provider side. And some of those, of course, will turn into managed services. Well, let me take a step back. A lot of managed services even provided on public cloud providers are
Right.
based on open source, right?
Right.
So if you got your big, public cloud providers, your AWS, your Google, your Microsoft, they're all using this. So that's a telltale sign there that is definitely the future, and it's the way to go. And then I also truly believe that it gives you that ability to really prototype, try out new things a lot quicker without less cost involved, right? From the jump, without you
Right.
investing a lot of extra money. Because, there's a lot of other product services you can buy that have licensing and so forth. And it's good if you know you need that. But a lot of times when people start now, they don't know what they need yet. So open source is a great way to get started, start prototyping, and get your ideas out there.
That's true. That's definitely true. And Gotham, you wanted to say something, right? I
Yeah,
saw you
yeah.
raise your hand.
So the other key factor which we have observed in AppSmith, I've been here for almost 2 years now. The other key factor regarding open source is the trust. You have a community.
Hmm.
It's not just the enterprise users. It's just this community. You have a lot of people already using invest. You are already using your product, who are very invested in your product. So the it all boils down to how quickly you can respond to a certain situation. In AppSmith itself, I can tell a number of a lot of occasions where we got help from open source contributors where we uh, we tried something where there were a user who deployed AppSmith. He wanted to have certain kind of feature. He could push the code. He contributed that code, and that kind of paved way for a much bigger thing in AppSmith. So those are the main things. First thing, I mean, those are the key fundamentals when we talk about open source. The other thing which we always talk about open source is that hey, you don't actually have to worry about open source. It's already up there. You want to run it, you can run it. It's all yours. We don't have any proprietary things and all that stuff. So yeah, that is one thing which I found in the last 2 years in AppSmith. So that's where I feel like I push people to like, hey, push it open source. Don't keep this thing or don't keep it as a private rep or something. Push it open source. Make sure it's public. People can access it. People should be deploying it. People should. It's all like the more people use it, the more refined your product will be. So yeah,
Which is true. And there is this famous phrase that we use in the open source community is like, come from the software and stay for the community.
yeah.
That's really powerful. Like, I've been in different open source communities throughout my career. I spent a lot of time in the Drupal community, the JavaScript community, last few years on the Google community and all of their open source products they have. And obviously now with AppSmith, we have seen the transformative power of having a community that, first of all, they join to get help, and then they start to grow in their skills, thankfully, because we have been advocating for the developer journey to a point when they become advocates themselves and they start contributing with other people and they create channels. We have people who created a Spanish channel in our Discord, and they're contributing with people who can speak only Spanish. We have the same thing with the French. We have the same stuff, obviously, with the Indie, and it's so powerful to see the community growing and them owning themselves and growing themselves to a point where you're not even needed. You don't have to be there to control the community because the community it's helping shape that future. So yeah, what you said, Gotham, about community and the power of community when it comes to open source, it's definitely amazing. We
it's
are
it's
Yeah,
instant
go ahead.
feedback. It's instant feedback. Like
Instant feedback.
anything you do, like instant feedback. You because the community is used. Like needless to say, AppSmith is close to 33K stars in GitHub. You have a very big community. So whenever you push something, you can quickly get a feedback. Okay, hey, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. Maybe this is what I think it can be better and all that stuff. So instant feedback. Like I kind of feel that everything is very instant in apps where you don't actually have a entire life cycle that okay, hey, I push it today, 2 weeks later you'll see, 2 weeks later someone else will come back saying, hey, this is what messed up. So yeah.
Instant feedback. That's true. Even the bad thing and the bad stuff, it's more instant than the good things. That's for sure. We're coming to an end here. We want to be mindful from our guests' time, but we have one last topic we wanted to bring up. But before we go into that topic, I wanted to encourage everyone to ask their questions on the chat. We're going to have a small QA time at the end if somebody has questions. So make sure to put that on the chat. Whether if you're joining from Twitter, we have right now 75 live people from YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn. So it's great to see the communities joining and learning from our amazing guests. From the last topic we wanted to talk, it's obviously the future. What is the future, not only of self hosting, but in general terms of the modern technology progress into the enterprise software? And I wanted to start with you, Mark, because I know,
Mhm,
again, you're
mhm,
working with customers, you're
mhm,
deploying to the cloud for
mhm.
multiple companies. And I wanted to ask you, like, what did you see the future of all of this going on right now?
Yeah, I think one of the things what I'm seeing is that number one, a lot of vendors are starting to make different versions of their software more. I would making their software more available to be hosted on number one different cloud providers, and then also the ability with more configuration, maybe like just like maybe be a virtual appliance, right? So instead of you in the past you
Hmm.
paid for them for a SaaS product or something like that, they're like, hey, you also can run it on your own, and maybe there still may, of course, there's going to be some kind of fee involved, but it's not as much as it was because they're not taking on the entire all the management of it and so forth. So I do see, some of the locks and chains being released a little bit, but also, they got to stay competitive as well, right? Because as Gotham, you were just mentioned about all the open source and the communities and everyone working together, it definitely impacts them, and they keep an eye on that themselves. They're looking at those same types of communities, so they want to also loosen up a little bit and let these things be available so that you can deploy them how you want it, where you want it. Of course, there's always going to be exceptions to the rule, but I do see more enterprises and companies adopting a lot of open source, especially in terms of this AI space right now and just different tools.
That's definitely
Yeah.
a good way.
So
Awesome. What about you? And also from a
yeah,
DevOps perspective.
yeah. So talking about the open source and the other part, I remember my previous organizations. I worked with a couple of AI tools. So the go-to thing whenever we want to work on a particular tool, we always check for the GitHub repository, and we check how actively it is maintained, and how actively people are talking about issues, and how actively the contributors are contributing or responding to those issues. Those are the key factors. Any company who, I mean, the primary reason, I can give you an example as Flare being one language related GitHub repository, which will help in named entity recognition, sentence emotion, and all that stuff. So these are the things. So when we took up the primary reason why I looked into open source GitHub repository or something of that sort during that is like how quickly you can get help. Like when we talk about tools, even in AppSmith, the people why people like AppSmith or people love talking to or using AppSmith is that how quickly we can respond to a particular situation. Like you raise an issue, you at least have one person giving you some response as to, hey, this is where you might have gone wrong, maybe this is what you have to try and all that stuff. So that is one. And regarding the AI part, yeah, like I think that is the way to go for any AI tool going forward. We see uh, yeah, we see that this is where like most of the open source contributions and most of the open source products will be used, where all the AI related companies will be inclined on.
That's a great thought, and you're totally right. I mean, both you're both totally right about what you're saying, and from my standpoint, uh, AI, and in general terms, everything related to how progress is going when it comes to cloud computing and owning your own tools, which is one of the series that we're pushing in our community portal. In case you haven't joined, everyone in the audience community, that appsme.com, that's our community portal. That's where the discussion is happening. We're sharing tutorials and articles every day. And there is a series we're working on, which is called Own Your Tools. Like the fact that you can own the tools that you are running on your enterprises, whether if it is your databases, your Git servers, your low code applications, uh, everything, the fact that you can own them gives you sovereignty about what's going on. And that's very powerful to me, because when you have control, you have the power to decide where you're driving your products and you're having your company, and not relying on a SaaS product, which in the future could maybe go down, which in the future can be sold and closed and take another direction to which you were expecting to grow. So yeah, the fact that modern cloud computing is making self-hosting so much easier, and it's going to be much easier in the future, with active AI telling you and enabling you to not even worry about things, maybe reducing, upscaling, downscaling, cost saving, controlling the security, telling you, hey, you might have an data outreach here. This is the way you could fix it, or we could fix it automatically for you. I see that in the future becoming much easier for you to self-host and own your tools, which is the topic that I was mentioning. So let me see in the chat if we have any questions. But if somebody have questions, let them know in the chat. And while that happens, let's bring the trivia. Let's bring the trivia back. We asked at the beginning of the streaming this question, which is, in which year the term cloud computing first used in its modern context? And let's reveal the answer already. Let me put that here. And the trivia answer is 2006. That's the year where the term cloud computer was first used in the modern context of what we know what cloud computing is right now. And so, congratulations to the winner. We have Kevin from Twitter. He said 2006. We have, let me put that on the screen, Kevin H from Twitter. Reach out to me and I will also send you a message so we can send you some cool swag. Nicholas from YouTube said 2006 as well. Nicholas Chabanoles. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Also a winner. And from LinkedIn, Efrain from Venezuela, he said as well 2006, I believe. So you three guys are the winners of the cool AppSmith swag package from this trivia. So congratulations to all of you. And I'll reach out to you, but also if you want to reach out to me directly, I can send you the link and you can claim your package, your swag package. So I think that there's no questions, which is good. Sometimes that's good because it means that everything was very clear. So any closing words, Mark and Gotham? Starting for you, Mark. Any closing words from our audience?
Yeah, I just encourage the audience just to continue to learn more about, apps Smith in particular, as we're talking about the product, but also just learning cloud in general, learning cloud, AI. These are the top things in the market right now. And if you really want to kind of stay ahead of the game, I would just continue to learn about it. It's changing every day. So I just encourage you to keep learning. I am, and I'll see you out there.
Yep. What about you, Gotham? Any closing words?
It was great. This is my first time. It was great. It went well. So yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's all I can tell. Like, keep contributing, keep learning. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Cool. That's a good closure. So to remind everyone, we talk about the ebook during this webinar. A lot of the insights we got from all of the charts that we displayed came from that specific survey we run across multiple developers from multiple industries. And you can download the ebook. I put the link on the chat as well. And you can find the ebook in our website. Let me just put it again in case somebody missed it. But in general terms, download the ebook. There's a lot of information over there that you can grasp and go back to this live stream as well and make sure that you compare what we said to what's on the book and say, oh yeah, what Mark, Gotham, and Kevin talk about was completely true during the live stream. So with that said, I think we're going to be coming to an end here. Thank you so much, Mark, Gotham, for sharing your invaluable insights and expertise. And I'm sure our audience has gained a lot from these conversations. To our viewers, thank you for joining us and your engaging questions. We have some of them, and we hope this session has provided you with valuable insights into the world of self-hosting software solutions and the power of low-code platforms like AppSmith. And before we sign off, there's one last thing. I have an exciting announcement to make because you need to mark your calendars for our next quarter event, which is AppSmith Work. And it's happening next month on October 23rd. And the theme is going to be the future of work is here. And we'll be diving into how AI, again, automation and custom business software are unlocking next levels of productivity. And you'll also get a first look at some of the AppSmith's latest updates that can make it even easier to harness these shifts and work better, faster, and smarter, which is something that I know we all want to do. So if you found today's session valuable, please hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Please follow us on LinkedIn in case you're watching from LinkedIn and also from Twitter. And don't forget to share this live stream with your colleagues who might benefit from learning about self-hosting and low-code solutions. Maybe they couldn't join, but you can share this link from this session to anyone from your co-work people or any colleagues and friends. I'm sure they're going to be learning some stuff from this. So again, remember, with AppSmith, you have the power to build and self-host enterprise applications with unprecedented speed and flexibility. Until next one, keep innovating, and we'll see you at AppSmith Work, remember, on October the 23rd. Thank you, everyone who joined today, and I guess we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everyone.